Hello, everybody. You are with Holly and Lauren Aaliyah, and this is Breakthrough to Best Self. And the topic that we've got today is a topic that's really close to my heart, and I know it's really close to Lauren's as well, and it's cravings. 6 years ago, I never thought that I could live a life without cravings. Now I know that I can. And oh my goodness, thank goodness. What do you have? What are your opening comments here, Lauren, about cravings?
Well, I must tell you that I didn't know that what I had was cravings. I just thought I felt like eating something because it tasted nice, or I was hungry,
Yeah.
or I
Yeah.
kind of like I didn't ever attach cravings to like the depth of like some desire for food. Do you know? Like I didn't think I was experiencing cravings. I thought I just, oh, I like nice things. Or I used to say, I have a sweet tooth. Or just
Yes.
like, oh, this would be nice. Like it was a fantasy in my brain, but I didn't, I thought it had something to do with what was happening on my tongue. Does that make sense? I thought it was a taste buds issue. I didn't know it was a brain issue. I didn't know it was
Yeah.
cravings in that with that description. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind is I just think about how over the years I've come to understand what cravings are and how that's changed my life and understanding that it is something that happens in the brain and knowing why it happens has changed my relationship with food. Now that I know I can identify like, oh, this is a craving. This is what's happening in my brain right now. How about you, Holly? What is your kind of opening thoughts just on cravings and your experience with them in the past, maybe?
I can so relate to what you were saying about that, not even calling it the word craving. Um, you know, when I was fully in the food, I thought it was a defect, a personal defect that I don't know why, but I consume more food than anybody else around me. And I never called it a craving until I finally recognized that, just like you said, finding out that it was something to do with what's going on in the brain. And that was a game changer for me because I could call it what it was, first of all, and I could find a pathway out. So identifying it for what it really is has been a complete game changer for me.
Yeah.
That would be my beginning statement. And you and I are both FARA certified food addiction recovery advocates. On top of everything else, and um, we've both studied under Joan. I've got the book right here in case
That's
people have not seen it.
Dr. Joan. We're talking about Dr. Joan Eflin, right? World leading
Yes.
expert in the field of food addiction recovery, and probably, yeah, studied cravings, food cravings in particular, more than anybody else that I know. So, Holly, what are cravings? Maybe let's start there and kind of just, without getting a textbook definition, but just in general, how does how do you know you're having a craving? How does that show up for you? Like, what's a craving? Even before you get to actually eating, which may or may not happen with a craving,
Correct.
what is the
Correct.
craving that's happening? Like, what does that feel like for you?
Oh, it is this overwhelming urge. I have to have this item, and I cannot get it out of my brain if I don't have the skills and the tools, and I don't know that what I'm doing, what I'm experiencing, until I have that item, it is stuck in my brain. It's like an obsession in my
Yep.
brain. It feels like obsession to me. What about you?
Yeah, you know, uh, as you said, obsession. I was like, yep, that's a good word. That's a good word
Mhm.
because it doesn't let go. It's like it just
Mhm.
clings onto your brain, and you try to distract yourself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Um, And so, yes, that overwhelming urge, like you said, that overwhelming urge to eat a particular food. Sometimes it's to eat any food,
A
but it's
group. Oh, yeah, it could be.
it's
Yeah,
the overwhelming urge to eat. You know, the
correct.
overwhelming urge to eat. Often it is for a particular food. And, I said I didn't think I had cravings. I think the only time I acknowledged it was cravings, and maybe other people listening to this will relate. If you've ever been pregnant and had that overwhelming insatiable craving, like people talk freely about the cravings of a pregnant woman, and I think that was the
This is
only time I
true.
ever thought, oh, that's a craving. So outside of that, I was just like, I've got this insatiable desire to eat. It's just this insatiable desire, like constantly I would
Yeah.
have breakfast and start craving things for lunch. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
yeah.
eating breakfast. I'm thinking, what's next? What's next?
Right. So yes, that overwhelming urge to eat, and then that preoccupation. So what do we know now? What do we know now? We know now that this is neurotransmitters in the brain. It's actual brain
Yes.
chemicals that are seeping out into the brain because they've been triggered. So being triggered means that there's been some sort of stimulus. It could be a big emotional stimulus, which was often the
Yeah.
case for me. Big emotions could stimulate me into craving. Um, uh,
Stress.
Stress, yeah, there you go. Stress stimulates you into eat, or seeing a particular food that I remember the taste of, or
Yeah.
um, particularly, we know that processed food and sugar food, that has a particular propensity to cause cravings, and so there are
Yes.
foods, that I'm using air quotes, there are foods that have been specifically designed to create cravings. Holly, what do you know about that? What do you know about foods that have been designed to create cravings? Tell us a little bit about where that comes from.
Well, the first word that comes to mind when you say that is despicable. Sorry,
Yeah.
but the thing is there are neuromarketers out there who this is their job. They get paid to create cravings in people, desire, overwhelming urge to go back. You've heard no one can eat just one, right?
Yep.
You've heard feed your addiction. I've heard that in commercials. I'm like, they aren't even hiding behind the fact that they are promoting addiction,
Yeah.
that sort of
Yep.
cascade of events in our brain. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're like joking about it. But in reality, there are neuromarketers who get paid to they do brain scans and they feed people these foods and to see how reactive our brain is for that particular item. If it's not reactive enough, they will turn up the addictive properties in that food in order to sell. And that's
Yeah.
just it. It's a way to market and sell more products when it's
Right.
all said and done.
Right. So we now have manufactured cravings because of particular foods that create cravings. And so then you're triggered by being reminded to eat those foods. So you see commercials, advertising everywhere for those foods. They make them really affordable for you. And they place them everywhere so
Yeah.
that they're easily accessible, right? So all of this very strategic business model that we know that processed food manufacturing industry has actually inherited from the tobacco industry, right? And one of our previous talks,
And that
you
blows
would,
my mind right there.
right, right. You can go back and watch one of our previous videos where we really talk about this environment that we kind of are living in, all of us. So back to cravings are stoppable, which was kind of the opening line there. Holly,
Yeah.
um, tell me, how do you stop cravings? How do you stop them? Broadly
Let's
speaking, of
start
course.
with the fact that let's start with the fact that there's hope. I want to start with that Because I remember when I was in the food, I felt hopeless. There's hope. Cravings are stoppable. Um, what we're going to do, one of the things that it takes to um, sort of work towards that goal, is we look at our emotions instead of trying, in the past for me, my emotions, I buried them with the food because I had no way of dealing with them. I didn't know how to deal with them, and no one ever modeled it for me. So I work on the emotions. When I'm ready, as I'm ready, I remove some of those offenders, some of those foods that will stimulate that part of my brain as I'm able, piece by piece. Um, Stress management, Lauren, you brought that up, right? That's another big factor. How many times have you said or heard someone say, I'm a stress eater? I just eat
Right.
when I'm stressed. Or I'm an
Yep.
emotional eater. When I have
Mm.
a big emotion, I eat. And how many times I can raise my hand to the fact that I've done that myself. So, learning skills, learning tools, learning about cues and triggers, right? That's a huge one. Managing our cues and our triggers on a regular basis. Huge. What's cue? What's a cue and what's a trigger? Maybe that's a question. What do we mean when we say managing cues and triggers, Lauren?
Yeah. Well, without getting into sort of textbook type definitions, but just broadly speaking, we spoke just now about a stimulus, something that stimulates you into eating. We'll call that a trigger. And then reminders to eat something will be called that cues, right? So we're being cued, we're being reminded. And so the world that we're in is extremely triggering, extremely cueing, because there are all sorts of things creating stress for us. And then there's all these reminders to eat. So how do we stop cravings? Well, first of all, we need to know what our triggers and cues are. What are our
Yes.
triggers and cues? And then, of course, learning skills to manage those. You spoke about processing emotions. First, you've got to know you're having an emotional trigger response here. So
Yeah.
identifying, oh,
Yeah.
it's an emotion that's being triggered, or oh, it's because I saw my colleague at work eating. That's why I have the craving. Oh, it's because I didn't sleep enough last night. I'm tired. That's what's triggering
Right.
cravings. So first of all, identifying the different categories of cravings, physical, emotional, food triggers, stress triggers, all these things, different categories, and then having a suitable response. How do I calm that craving down so it doesn't lead
Right.
to me eating off my meal plan um, as I'd intended when I woke up this morning? I'm going to eat in this clean meal plan. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to reverse diabetes. I'm going to do all these things that we set out doing with the best of intentions. And then we can't do them because we're overwhelmed with cravings that take us off our plan. So managing those cues and triggers,
It's huge.
which includes processing emotions, it includes reducing stress and managing stress and introducing calming activities, all these things collectively, as well as leaning into support if you need to. So in severe cases of loss of control and in severe cases where you really have a disordered kind of brain that's really susceptible to cravings, you may or may not call that an addiction. But whether you do or not, what you have is you just have this overwhelming stimulated brain, where the reward center of your brain is constantly stimulated, and you find it extremely difficult to stay in that, frontal lobe, logical, intelligent part of your brain and follow
Right.
through with your plan. In that case, you may need some additional support to help with that. So yes, cravings are stoppable with the right tools, with the right skills, and with the right support. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Holly, we've got a great support program available for
We
anybody
do.
that wants support. Now, of course, what we're going to talk about in a minute is a short course. It's introduction to everything Holly and I are talking about now, understanding, triggers and cues and the environment, and really starting to understand individual triggers and cues, and then learning how to match those and map across to calming activities. And we do that in a fantastic 4-week course, which is a combination of online course material and 4 weekly sessions with Holly and I, Zoom sessions where we facilitate discussion on these topics. Hal, do you want to share some information with everybody that's watching? You may want to, just an outline. Let's give you an outline for those that are curious about
Okay.
this course. We've got one coming up, a live version of this course coming up tomorrow, the 10th of August. We have the first live session of this 4-week cycle. We repeat the course every few months. We repeat the live course for those that would like, and we've got one starting tomorrow. So of course it's not too late to join us, but Holt, you can, just take our audience through what we cover in that course.
Okay. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek at what the course would look like if you decide to register. So I'm going to share screen here real quick and show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so here is the Get Cravings and Overeating Under Control. And it's broken down into 4 weeks. So week 1, here's the modules. We're going to talk a bit about cravings, more in depth about overeating. What's driving it, what actually is going on in the brain, and how the food impacts cravings. Week 2, we're going to define what triggers and cues are in a deeper level. Talk about how they impact us, how they create cravings. Start to identify our own. I love the self-paced exercise. So we have self-paced exercises every week that you can do on your own, and we talk about in the live sessions. This self-paced exercise is beginning to create an inventory of what your personal, so this is going to be you can customize this to what your personal experience is, and I love that. I love that. Week 3, we're talking about how are we going to, now that we've identified them, how are we going to counteract them? And then some typical experiences people have about patterns and night eating. I was always a night eater, and so this has really helped me get that back in control. The self-paced exercise here, oh my goodness, I teamed up with an insurance analyst on this, and we worked together to come up with a risk assessment sheet for high-risk situations. And a high-risk situation could be just going to the grocery store, or it could be going on a 1,000-mile trip, or anything in between. We have ways of working through that now. And week 4, of course, Lauren and I absolutely love. Week 4, we do a lot of emotional processing and stress management with the people that we work with. And it's a big part of overeating and experiencing cravings. So we work through, how do we make our emotions our friends? How do we process an emotion? I didn't know how to process emotions 6 years ago, but I do now. And so I don't have to eat over it. A lot of extras come with this course, including just some sheets about self-care and processing emotions and setting up a peaceful place. So there's a lot in here, and in such a short amount of time, I can't unpack it all, but this is a big overview of what you can expect if you decide to join us for the course. And as Lauren said, it starts August 10th. It starts tomorrow. And you can reach out to us in the comments, wherever you're finding this video. Reach out to Lauren and myself. We will be on the lookout for anyone who wants to join us. Lauren, any other thoughts about the course itself?
We will include a link with this video. So wherever you find this video, look in the comments or look in the post with this video. If you're finding this, you'll find a link where you can sign up. And just to say that although the live sessions happen in a 4-week cycle with Holly and I, the course is available to you for a lifetime. So it's available online. It's pretty self-paced. We are covering the material in the live discussions 1 week at a time. However, you are welcome to take a little longer. You're welcome to finish it quicker, and you're welcome to go back to it again and again and again. And if you can't make the live sessions, I think this is important to mention. If you can't make the live sessions, but you've registered for the course, we will be recording those 4 weekly live sessions only for registered participants. So only registered participants from that particular course. So in this case, the August course, those registered participants will receive a recording. So you won't miss out if you can't attend all the live sessions. And that's 10 a.m. US Eastern Time, which is 3 p.m. in the UK and 4 p.m. if you're in South Africa like I am. So starting tomorrow for 4 weeks. But again, you have access to the course for life. So we look forward
Absolutely.
to welcoming you on the course. We hope you'll join us.
Yay.
Holly, before we close out on this, how has managing triggers and cues changed your just control over food in general and, your recovery, your health, your wellness, broadly speaking?
I can say that, I've done it the old way. The old way for me is diet mentality, restrict, restrict, restrict. I've done it that way. And it always led to a gigantic binge at the end. And it would be a worse situation by the end of that. Now I am being kind to myself. I'm paying attention to myself. If something shows up for me, I address it. So it's more than a food plan. I thought if I just get my food right, everything else would be fine. And it was so funny because it was actually the reverse. If I work on my emotions and my stress and my night, the patterns during my day that led to the night eating and just recognizing what triggers me, what cues am I dealing with all day long, every day. It sounds like a lot of work, but it's not. And I took it as a self-paced sort of lived experience, so to speak. But how it's changed my life is I now have the bandwidth in my mind to create the life I don't want to escape from. And again, it's been this 5.5 year journey, and the journey continues. And now I am actually in a place where I'm grateful for the experience because of everything I've learned following it. So, changed my life, yeah, just a little, just a tad, but in such a wonderful way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lauren, how has it impacted your life?
Well, I started out this sort of chat saying that I didn't know that I experienced cravings. And so I spent my life, the better part of it, really struggling with food. I mean, decades bouncing from diet to diet and getting yo-yoing weight up and down and
Yeah.
always thinking it was my fault, thinking I lacked willpower, but never knowing that I'm actually experiencing cravings, let alone knowing that they were stoppable. So it's changed my life because I can now recognize when I'm in what I'll call a craving flare up.
Yep.
And I can find compassion for myself now when I'm in that situation. I have tremendous awareness when it's happening. And I can go really quickly now to what is causing that and trying to figure out what my triggers and cues are. I can create a calming activity in my brain in real time more often than not, which means that I can observe cravings and not act on them. which means I can stay on my clean food meal plan, which means I can maintain my weight, which was such a big trigger for me, which means I can continue to improve my health. And then, of
Wow.
course, that's just on not eating the food. On the other side, I'm managing and processing my emotions. I'm regulating my nervous system all the time. I'm managing my
Right.
stress. So I've got better relationships. I've got just a calmer disposition in life. And we could go on and on and on how
We could.
just,
We could.
yeah, just managing cravings and overeating is life changing. So I can't wait for some of you to, yeah, just join us, take this
Oh,
ride for the next 4 weeks, and it'll change your life too. Yeah. Thanks, Holly.
no doubt. No doubt. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate you. And everyone who is watching this video, we appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And we hope to see you there. We hope to see you
Yeah.
there. And just one more, I'm going to say it one more time. There's hope. There's hope.
Please help.
So we'll see you there, friends.
See you, everyone. Till next time.